Well, that was the hype man we never asked for. Thanks, Simon. Okay, last session of the day, and I know that we are standing in the way of drinks at the Garden State, so we'll try to make it as interesting as we possibly can. And I'm going to start off, Ethan, by asking you, what is EGM of payments at CBA?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I feel really bad trying to follow the prior session.
I know, it's quite the lead-in.
The hype, I don't think I could even come close. But it's kind of a pretentious title, and I think for this crowd it probably is too, because payments, I think, touches everything, and we've been talking about it the past couple days. So I do have, as described, some product responsibilities for the account payments, so basically everything non-card. And then I have responsibility to bring together our strategy for payments and our representation and advocacy. So it's a connecting role in the bank with some real kind of, with 25 products, right? So really the workhorse products for us.
It's the second time we've heard mention to an overarching payment strategy at Intersekt, but we won't touch on the other one. That's yet to come. So look, Dom quoted a fact at the last panel that, 80% of market share for loans is with banks. Another fact is that we really need banks for a thriving payments ecosystem. They're a big cornerstone of that. But that ecosystem, we're really on the brink of change. We've got CDR, we've got potential action initiation with payments coming, we've got a strategic payments plan, we've got payments licensing, we've got RBA thinking about common access requirements. What is the role of a bank like CBA in that ecosystem?
Yeah, it's a big question, and in many ways I think we're going to play, if we do it right, all the roles. I mean, today we play kind of all the roles, right? And as the payments ecosystems open up and continues to open up, we know we're going to be relied on. That's number one. Number two, we've got a track record of partnering, right? We're partnering with PayPlane, a number of other fintechs at CBA, and that's really important to us as partnering. And number three, we're going to be innovating ourselves, right? And so if we get it right, we'll do all three of those things in the future, just like we do today. Now, what that's going to take is having the right foundations. And I think there's been a lot of productive conversation here today. We're all eagerly awaiting a number of consultations and papers from the government on what the future is going to look like exactly. And if we get the foundations right, then we can build on that. We can know exactly what it means to be relied on. The ecosystem partners can know about that too, right?
Are you saying that consumers, businesses and partners, fintechs, other providers need to rely on you?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody.
Everybody. Okay.
In a way. But I think the key here is for that all to come together, having the right frameworks, getting those rather quickly, and having the right level of coordination will mean that we can play those roles in a strong way and continue to be an important part of the system.
Almost like a hub of the ecosystem.
Maybe.
Maybe, okay. All right, so there's been a bit of chat about payments becoming a commodity or already being a commodity. Do you think that's right? Do you think that business models need to evolve? How are we going to win with the economics of payments going forward?
Yeah, I think this word commodity and this idea of efficiency, it's important, but at the same time, it's not fair, I think, to paint all of the payments, all the transactions, experiences with that same brush, right? So it's not always about cost, but it is always about value. And sometimes that value is going to manifest by commoditizing some things that are common, and then those things should fall in cost, especially if there's a lot of access. On the other hand, if we can bring more value, right, with the enhanced data payloads and all the experiences we can build on that with the overall ecosystem, well, then that's going to be a different story, and we can bring that value to the entire experience where there might be other costs outside of the payment leg and actually have a rebalancing of economics. So it could go any way. Some will be commodities, some will be high value, I think is the real answer in this.
Do you think we need to get better at communicating what the value is, though? Because ultimately, it's often a business that pays the underlying price for a payment. There's not a lot of scenarios where a consumer pays for the payment that they're doing. Do you think we need to get better at communicating what the value is?
Yeah, I mean, I think for businesses, it's pretty easy. They get it. and they see value, you can help them find value. That's sometimes a challenge. I think for consumers and some of the other players and stakeholders, it's not always obvious how the payments ecosystem hangs together and how the value really underpins that. And with all these new experiences, I think there's going to be a risk that we don't see the value and we don't understand how to engineer it to ensure that value sustains and that all parties are rowing in the same direction.
I have likened pay to and direct debits to the old analog TVs switching to digital TV, and there was, a holdout group that no matter how well the benefits of digital TV were communicated, they didn't know it until they got it and were forced to get it. So, I think we will get there eventually. We'll be forcing the latecomers to switch over. One thing that we haven't talked about a lot at this conference this year is mobile wallets. How do you think about them in the view of the ecosystem?
Yeah, can I stop and cover your analogy first? I think it's really good.
Sure. Okay.
Because we've been debating the pay-to analogies, and I'm sure there's some people in the room who have better analogies than me. Maybe even than you. And I liken it to the mail, right? So, you send a postal letter. This is kind of direct debit, right? And, you don't know exactly when it's going to arrive, if it's going to arrive, and in what shape it'll be when it gets there, right? And with Pay2, it's more like instant messaging, where you have a feedback loop. It closes the loop, and you understand what's happening. You have control in the moment. It's real time. It's pretty exciting. So I wanted to try that on with you.
That is a good analogy,
right.
And I think we need then Meg Ryan to come and do a movie to promote Pay2. As do you remember You Got Mail?
Yeah.
All right.
So on mobile wallets, I actually think it's more of the same, right? As we think about, and I didn't hear it in the conference as much, and I admittedly didn't make every session, but there was a lot of talk on CDR, of course, and there was a lot of talk on Pay2 and NPP and general opening of the payment system. But the mobile wallets are increasingly popular. There are different dynamics there, and I think it's just like everything else. We have to make sure that we've got the same frameworks and standards. The idea of openness and access is important. And we know that the ACCC and the RBA are looking into this. And I think the important thing is there's a lot of talk about the NFC today, right? That's part of the mobile wallet conversation. But technology will move on. There'll be the next thing. And we already know that, still in the NFC, but not mobile wallets, phone payment acceptance is going to be one of the areas. And I'm sure it's already being looked at. But it's kind of what's next. Because I think the challenge we've had and the challenge we face now is there's been so much change, we're catching up. We have to see how far forward we can build the ecosystem.
So looking forward, we've just come through quite a transformational build of a new piece of infrastructure, or certainly a piece of infrastructure on top of an infrastructure, so Pay2. Is there anything that you think we should go, well, we learnt this at this time about creating this cross-industry, cross-ecosystem development that we could carry with us as we go into the next exciting development, whatever that might be?
Yeah. Before we get to learning, first of all, it's pretty exciting, right? We are now approaching Pay2. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's getting brighter and brighter. This is pretty exciting times. And CBA is pretty proud to be part of the NPP from the start, right? We did a big build to get to the first transaction in 2018, and there's been another big build for Pay2, and we know there's more to come, right? And so that's for us. I'm just delighted that we're going to be the first major to Pay2. Now, in terms of learnings, I think there are a lot, right? And one of them is that these new things, which are ambitious and exciting, are hard. I think we all know that everyone was supposed to be live a couple months ago, number one. And then number two, the importance of coordination is really critical. So we think about, we were talking about the Treasury strategic plan yesterday, and the ability to unlock greater coordination so we have greater certainty around when we can arrive. Pay2 is going to get there. It's going to be great. And we think it's going to be good out the block, but it's going to be really great when we've got 80, 90, 100% reach, right? And of course, we would have liked to all land at the same time. So coordination is one, and then context is the other, right? And I think that they work together, and that there's the context of what else we're being asked to do as an ecosystem, what else we want to do, but also the global context of what's happening elsewhere and what we can learn from. You know, you look to the UK and you look to India, and there's been great success in both markets, but they're both revisiting some of the foundations today. And so can we accelerate that and actually get the foundations right really early in our journey, as opposed to kind of revisiting those foundations around, pricing and cost, right? You talked about commodity. The commodity is priced on the cost. So you have to get the cost dead right. These other markets are starting to look at this and reopen it. In the Netherlands, ideal, I think they got that from day one. And here, it's a work in progress. So that's probably another learning, is just getting the context right, both in terms of what else is going on and what else is happening around the world.
And maybe the payment strategy will help to crystallise some of that for what might come next and come down the track.
Yeah.
So thinking about what's around the world, how do you think we are placed today, exactly where we are, and then thinking about where we'll be this time next year? How competitive are we as a future-facing, digital-enabled economy from a payments perspective? Are we leading the pack? Are we mid-pack? Are we...
When I hear that question and I think about where we are today in Australia, there's a lot of potential. So I think we're at the precipice. We could be leading the pack and could be like a real inspiration to a lot of other markets. Right now, we've got some really bright spots. I think tap and pay is a very big bright spot. Our overall digitization of money is a very big bright spot. And all in all, we've had a really safe and stable system to date. But, if we get the next couple chapters right, I think there'll be a lot that other markets can learn from us.
Do you think that our legacy systems are holding us back in some way?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. And, we've got these legacy systems. They don't intrinsically hold us back. I think that's pretty unfair. What could hold us back in the legacy systems is if we seek to drag them into the future and have some of the same functionality, requirements, levels of investment in legacy that we've had in the new systems. Because then we're going to crowd out investment for innovation, for the next chapter of foundations, for all the exciting things we were talking about. So they don't hold us back, but they could.
Someone said to me not so long ago, a couple of weeks back, that, there's nothing wrong with our legacy systems. They're not broken. That's not the point. It doesn't mean that they're fit for purpose for carrying us forward into, an always-on digital economy that we need to be. But do you think also that understanding what the true cost of those systems are, to your point about investing resources into them, do you think that that is as exposed as it should be in order to create that motivation to really drive behind the new systems?
Yeah, I think it comes back to coordination again. So we think about they're not broken. That's for sure. But we don't know what good feels like until you've got it. I think like none of us bubbling around in the 90s with a flip phone would have said, this is broken. We would have said, this is amazing. It's a flip phone.
I broke mine a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm in that club as well. But we didn't know what was next, right? And then once you start experiencing it, you need it, right? And I think with real-time payments, we've got that. I think the control and the other benefits that we're going to see in some of the innovations like Pay2 are going to be similar. And then it's a matter of coordination on the legacy systems. Like, what do we do to make sure that we've got, a good glide path for the ecosystem?
Yeah, okay, all right. So this time next year, if we're sitting back on this stage, what should we be talking about?
This is a bit of a curveball.
Sorry.
Next year, well, we'll certainly be talking about adoption of Pay 2, because by this time next year, hopefully we'll be at that 90% reach. And we can really have some incredible learnings from that. Behaviorally, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see all the innovation on top of the functionality. I think we've all got use cases in mind now, but once it goes live, we're going to start to learn and see new use cases. It'll be really cool. And then at that point, it'll be a good opportunity for us to say, okay, we're learning about these third-party payments, opening of the payments ecosystem. What does that mean for CDR, right? And I think that could be really interesting to have those learnings and understand what's happening on Pay 2 and feed that in to the dialogue at that time. That'll be a cool conversation.
And just in case anyone's wondering, in the next few weeks, what's your favourite ice cream flavour?
I'm prone to pistachio, but never in a cone, always in a cup.
Never in a cone, okay. All right. That's it, everyone. That is the last session of the day.